Hello.
Hello, hello. Welcome to the show. We're here on another Friday to hear what our fellow humans are up to in the world. And why Friday, you may ask? Well, because it's the day that was named after the Norse goddess Frida, who's kind of a badass, actually. She's the goddess associated with love, beauty, fertility, sex, war, gold, magic, foreseeing, and influencing the future. Seems like a good day to explore the human condition. So let's get started and wrap up the week with some positivity. Today's guest is Diana Aviles, who's an IT professional with 26 years of experience in the field of manufacturing companies, 16 of those in leadership positions. Diana struggled several years with developing as a leader because of her introversion, insecurities, and limiting beliefs. And now, after many years of experience, she's passionate about helping people who are introverts develop their leadership skills. So, Diana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you very much for inviting me. Can you hear me? Can you hear me
Yes,
well? Okay,
everything's.
great.
I hear you great, loud and clear.
Great.
Um,
Thank you.
so, thanks for joining and happy Friday. And let's just start out with where are you from? Where do you live? Do you live where you grew up? Tell us a little bit about where you're from.
Yeah, sure. So thank you for inviting me. So I am from a city called Guadalajara in Mexico. It's the second largest city in Mexico. And just for your reference, this is the not the town, but the state where tequila is made. Tequila is just 1 hour away from Guadalajara, and
Nice.
also, yeah, and I don't drink, and I don't drink, but I do drink tequila, but like once every 2 years, maybe.
Yeah.
And this city also, Guadalajara, is where mariachi was born. So I am very proud of being from Guadalajara, Mexico. I have lived here all my life. I was born here. All my family lives here. I've lived here all my life, and I have always wanted to experience living in another country. It's never been possible so far, but possibly at least for a few months I can go and explore and know other countries. I've traveled a lot for work, but not lived in other place so far in my life.
Right.
Yeah,
And,
right,
and
right.
none of us have really gone to too many places in the last few years. So
Oh yeah, yeah.
we're all looking forward to getting away.
Yes, yes. Actually, also for work, I used to travel a lot until before the pandemic. I have not traveled at all since the pandemic. So I'm really looking forward for things to get normal and start traveling because I like traveling a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. I love it. I love experiencing other cultures. And, it's funny because the years ago, before there was Wi-Fi on the airplanes, I always
Uh-huh.
looked at it like you'd get on the airplane and you could, the second they closed the door to the airplane, there was no communication with the outside world.
Yeah,
And I was like, this is fantastic. Give me
yeah,
a 12-hour flight to Australia so I don't have to deal with emails for 12 hours. Um,
yeah, yeah. So
now,
at work
now
we
with
used to have,
Wi-Fi, go ahead.
yeah.
No, go ahead.
We used to have this functionality to work offline on for the email to answer emails offline, but yes, having Wi-Fi is completely different experience.
Yeah, it's a bit disappointing from my perspective. So, so what are you doing that's interesting?
So, well, as you mentioned in my introduction, I have been working since I left the university. My major was in information technology, which is well something similar to I can't recall the career in the U.S., but it's in information technology, right? And I started working in manufacturing companies all my career. I've been working since around 26, 27 years ago, all the time in manufacturing, all the time in IT, and I love it. And right now, what I'm doing that's interesting, I love my job. I coordinate global efforts. I coordinate the implementation of global IT strategies in the company that I work for. So I get to work with all the IT managers in all the plants that we have, all the production facilities that we have in the company that I work for. So to me, it's very exciting because I love organizing, I love coordinating, but I also love working with different cultures and working with different people. So we have production facilities in all around the world. So I find it very rewarding to be able to work with the people, all the people around the world. And so that part of my job is very rewarding, and of course I find it very interesting, and I enjoy it. And also recently, I also, well, since a while ago, I wanted to help other people's developing their careers, which I have been able to do in the company that I work for. But I also have this um, the intention to give more to other people, not just the people that I work for, And as you mentioned, I struggle a lot in the first years of my leadership journey because of my introversion. So I developed this interest of why don't I help other introverts uh, find their find how they can lead and help them develop as leaders. I mean, outside of work too. So that's one of the things that I started doing recently. Creating my Instagram page, and I'm working on creating a course for how introverts can find their inner strength, or can find their traits that make them strong as leaders, and how they can develop in terms
Right.
of that. So,
Great.
mhm,
That's great. Now, you've already our third question of the day is, why are you doing it and what led you to follow this? And I think you've kind of
mhm.
answered that a little bit. So I'd like to
Uh-huh.
just shake it up a little and ask,
Yeah, sure. Uh-huh.
um, what being an introvert, how do you see, because I think a lot of people in business think, that introverts who are shy, they're insecure, they're not capable, they're not, and there's a lot of
Yeah.
negativity put to it because you're not
Yes.
coming in with bravado and confidence. And,
Right.
so what makes an introverted leader different than somebody who's more extroverted?
Well, there's a lot of things. So let me just start by saying, yes, I think many people think that introverts are shy or would not be good leaders, but I think it's also about us introverts recognizing that our insecurities and our or shyness is actually a different thing than being an introvert, because any person can be shy. Either extroverts can be shy in certain situations, or any person can have also insecurities, either if you're introvert, extrovert, or whatever, so the insecurities that we have and come from a different place than being an introvert is more from where we get our energy from. If
Right.
we normally get our energy from within, from being alone, and we lose our energy with being in contact with a lot of people. So it's just understanding how we can manage our energy better. And also, being an introvert, my thought or my limiting beliefs when I became a manager was that I was too shy, I was too quiet, and I didn't have I said, I don't have what it takes to be a good leader.
Right.
And this is why, because when I became a manager, I was, first of all, the first woman in the staff in Mexico, in Guadalajara, at least at that time. The macho culture, there were all men, and I was the only one that was, on the quiet side. The other ones were like really outgoing. So I felt like I was less, or that I lacked something, or that there was something wrong with me,
Right.
until I started actually learning about leadership, and learning about introversion, and learning that my introversion was nothing that could stop me on creating or becoming anything, so I do agree with you. The introversion should not be seen as something negative, but something that we just need to understand how we are, how to take care of our energy, and just work with what we have. For example, introverts, we are very good at observing, so that's one of the things that um, we are very good also at listening, and by listening and observing at our employees, or at other to listening to other leaders, or understanding, that can also help create more connections or deeper connections.
Yeah.
We enjoy more one-to-one connections, or one-to-one interactions, rather than big groups of people. So that also makes us stronger on building the relationship with the people that we're working with. And we just need to learn how to manage our communication, how to manage our relationships, so that we can also be successful. But it's not something that we're lacking. We just need to understand how to do it, and that's why I also wanted to create this course, to help what I've learned through the process.
Yeah. So,
So
any advice for um, people, leaders who are not introverts, on
mhm,
how they can help introverts succeed in their careers? Because I venture to guess that it's pretty hard for extroverted leaders
mhm, mhm.
to allow for the time, like the pause time,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
necessary for an introverted leader, an introvert, to process their thoughts
yeah.
and answer. And there's probably a lot of interruption, a lot of, silencing you, I would assume. So,
Yes, yes, definitely. I think there's a lot. We introverts need to understand extroverts, but for extrovert leaders, I also think that they, as leaders, a good leader should be able to try to understand the people that he's working with, or the people that are working for them. And one of the things it would be to try to understand introverts better. For example, sometimes we introverts might not have a solution right away, so we do need the time to think and process before we can actually provide our input. So it's not that we lack something; it's that we process. We tend to do more processing, and through the processing, we need a little more time. That's something that just has the answer right on the top of their head, but it's because we are more thoughtful, and we just need the time. So that's one of the things. Other thing that I is, for example, some of us, or some people might not feel comfortable on participating on activities, on social events, or team buildings that require them to overshare, or to share a lot about them, or to be very outgoing activities. So I think they can understand and try to measure how much would be for extrovert and for introvert, so that all feel comfortable.
right.
And mostly try to talk to them, one on one, which is much more possible that an introvert can open in a one on one conversation rather than a group conversation. So uh, just ask them what are their preferences, or what makes them feel uncomfortable. So, but I mean, even for introverts and for any employee, I think we should do that. But yeah, I think those kinds of things, having the consideration, right, that it's not that we lack
Yeah.
intellectual. It's just that we are really more thoughtful, and need to process things in our head a little bit more, and we just need that time and consideration. So that's
Yeah.
one of the things. Uh-huh.
Thanks. And I think that it's interesting because I was, as you know, I'm an attorney by training,
Mhm,
still practicing part time, and I had a meeting with a group of people, and we were talking about how do you. I mean, this is completely away from introverts, but I'll bring it back in a second.
okay, okay.
But how do you avoid conflicts after a transaction is done in law?
Mhm,
And the point of it was really to try to figure out a way to practice dispute resolution in a more environmentally friendly way, so we're not flying all over the world for all these disputes.
mhm,
And one of the ideas that had come up was, well, if before you sign a contract to go into business with somebody, if at that stage, which is the honeymoon stage, and
Uh-huh.
everything's wonderful and everything's great, and if you took the time during the honeymoon stage to really make sure that you understood the relationship between the people, you could avoid problems later on,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Hmm.
probably diminish the amount of disputes there were. But where it leads into the introversion is I find that I think it's the same or similar circumstance where in today's day and age, everybody's in such a rush. Everybody, interrupts everybody. Everybody's trying to jump in and get things done and move it, move it, move it.
Hmm.
And for an introvert, like the pragmatic approach of taking your time
Hmm. Hmm.
seems to make more sense because later on you'll get so much more out of that person
Yeah,
that
yeah.
if you rush and shut them down and try to just say, okay, you've taken too much time. I have to text message somebody now.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I've felt that before. I felt that. I think I've been lucky because I think I've had leaders that have tried to understand me, and I've worked well with most of the leaders that I've had. But I think it's just a clear understanding. Our us introverts get our energy from within, from being alone, and every social interaction removes our energy. So we need to, time alone to recharge. And extroverts actually get their energy from social interaction. So the more interactions they have within along the day, the more energy they get. So it's just trying to understand each other, so that we can know
Right.
how to interact better. So
Right. Are any
yeah.
recommendations you have, like, for an introverted leader, is it better for, I don't know, if for instance, to have your meetings in the morning or in the evening, or I mean, are there different mechanisms that you put in place that help you be more productive?
So for me, I honestly don't get to choose where my meetings are, but I do. I do try to, if I schedule the meetings, because we need to interact with all the regions, or the time zones. But the one of the recommendation is just take at least two breaks during the day. Even if it's a 5-10 minute, you can go for a walk, you can take a coffee, or you just use it for breathing, meditation. And when I need to concentrate a lot, I also put relaxing music. But it's we really need to take some breaks, at least one or two breaks during the day, to be
Right.
alone, to breathe, to go through our thoughts. Because if we wait until the night, we will be all
Yeah.
very
Yeah.
very stressed. It comes out in a way of being very stressed and uncomfortable and out of energy. Completely out of
Right.
energy. So we need minutes, or we need some time during the day to get recharged. Yeah, so
Awesome.
that's one of the recommendations. Uh-huh.
Okay. So let's move on to the question that always stumps everybody is, who do you admire and why?
Well, I admire a lot of people, but one of my biggest idols is Michael Jordan.
Okay.
And well, there's several reasons, right? When I was young, my parents used to play basketball, so we watched the NBA all the time, and I admire him a lot, of course, as a player, because he was an excellent player. I admire the plays. I admire so many things about how he played. But I think one of the most important things on why I admire him is that, first of all, he's an introvert. I don't know if you knew, but he's an
I didn't know
introvert.
that.
Yeah, he's an introvert, but he's so strong. Mentally, he's so strong that
Uh,
that motivates me, and that inner strength that he has. That in moments he has the ball in the last 3 seconds or few seconds of the game, and he had the ball and he actually scored, right? So with
yeah.
all the security, with so I admire him because of that, and because of his point of view on failure also, or his thoughts about failure. He also says, okay, what you see in the games is that I succeed, right? You see how many games I play, but what you have not seen is how many times I failed, through
Right.
practices, how many times I've been rejected, how many times I failed. So one of the quotes that he has, well, is a long one, but in summary is, I failed so many times in my life, over and over again, and that's why I succeed. So and
Right.
that's why I see it, right? I don't see it more much as a failure. I agree with him. It's like a practice for succeeding, right? So I there's seeing him play, his quotes, his books, and just his security,
Yeah.
how his mental strength and security in the game and everything that he did was just inspiring and admiring for me and all my family just admired Michael Jordan so much I couldn't miss a game.
No, I mean,
Yes.
other than being an amazing basketball player, he's also an amazing human being. So,
Yeah, yeah,
as Dean Graciosi says, he
mhm,
probably is the exact person uh, outside that he is when he's alone. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I'm assuming, maybe I'm idolizing him too much. I don't know, but he does seem like he
yeah.
has his act together and just has a zen about him,
Right,
um,
right.
and a
And
graciousness.
yeah, and as a leader also, because they won, not only because he was a good player, but because he inspired and motivated the rest of the team to succeed. So that's also, like, from a leadership perspective, I also admire him.
Right.
Yes.
And he did that as an introvert.
As an introvert, yes, yes. So there's no excuse for introverts. We can do whatever we want.
Well, and there's no
Yeah.
excuse to dismiss introverts either, because, but people who don't give the time to introverts to convey their thoughts, or
Hmm.
to gather their thoughts, or
Yeah.
communicate their thoughts, are
Hmm.
probably losing out on a lot of innovation.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah. And actually, we I have seen also studies where introverts are very good for innovation, because by being the innovation comes from being alone and being able to concentrate on one task, to innovate. So I've seen that introverts are very good innovators. So yes, yeah, that's a very good point.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
okay, next and last question, Joe.
Okay.
What do you think the world could use more of right now?
A lot of things.
Yeah.
So I think one of the things that the world needs is empathy and kindness.
Yeah.
Empathy and kindness. We have seen so many. Well, I normally see, or I think we all see, that it's very easy to judge, because people are different than us, in any way, right? In the way they think, the way they act, or their religion, or their color, or their race, or where they come from. And so I think we lack a lot of empathy and a lot of kindness, because I think that if we really took the time to understand people, it would be very hard for us to judge, or
Right.
to hate people, because it's uh, I think it always becomes because of lack of empathy, and because we really don't want or try to understand others. So I think the world needs a lot of empathy and a lot of less judging and a lot of less kindness, because we never know what the other people is going through. We can see a very happy face, and we can see people succeeding, but or we never know what's behind all that happiness outside, or the success. We don't know how much they've struggled, or we don't know how difficult. I think we all have difficult moments, and we all go through difficult times in our lives, but we don't go expressing it, right? So just, I don't know. It's being kind, because you don't know. you don't know what other people is going through, and try
Yeah.
to really understand it. So I think those are the two things. And if we go deeper, well, self love and self acceptance, that
Right.
also is another thing that we need in the world, with
Yeah. I mean,
all the
it's
standards, that we have.
yeah, it's funny because I always tell my son that time is the limiting reagent. Time is the one thing that you can't. I mean, you can make as much
Yeah.
money as you want. You can you can have the biggest house you want. There's
Hmm.
no limit to what you can do
Hmm.
or not do,
Hmm.
but time limits everything.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
taking the time, instead of taking time to put other people down and to build yourself up, we're all going to end up in the same place. I mean,
Yeah,
let's face it.
exactly. Yeah,
Eventually,
exactly.
some
Yeah.
sooner than
Right.
others, but we're all going to end up in the same place. So, really, what is the point of accumulating that kind of wealth at the expense of others? Some don't. I mean, some accumulate wealth and they give it away, or being selfish out of fear, or I mean, there's a lot of things that we get ourselves as human beings twisted up in. And I think it stems from the fact that uh, it stems from our internal, like lizard brain that is
Yes.
trying to survive, and it's based on fear.
Hmm.
And the fear makes us act the way we do, where we push other people away and we make them others, and we, say, you're not like us, or you're taking away from me. And the more fear there is in the world, and right now, let's face it, there's a
Oh,
lot.
yeah. Yeah. With all things happening.
It's a
Yes.
lot, and
Yes.
especially
Yes.
for I would say for millennials and younger, who haven't really in the United States or in North America areas, Western Europe,
Hmm.
um, haven't really experienced wars like our parents and
Yeah.
grandparents have, and
Hmm.
so it's just the fear is probably just paralyzing and making people act, I don't know, crazier than normal. I don't know what
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
right word is, but
Yes. Yeah.
yeah,
Fear can bring out the worst in us, or the best, however we approach it.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, part of the show is to help people just hear how other people are living and what they're doing, and make us all more human to each other.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll be a little bit of a nudge towards us having more empathy and kindness towards each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully, yes. Yes.
So,
So, yeah.
all right. Anything else you want to add in before we wrap up for the day?
No, I think I mean, I enjoy the time. Thank you very much for inviting me, and no, nothing else. Thank you very much.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. And thanks everybody in the audience for listening in. And next Friday, we will have Desiree Mittman, who is a financial whiz. And it's the last in our series of 4 women for Women's